Supreme Riser. See the title? Title says Death and Death. So I got some particular thoughts, right? Cross reference. Let's just I'm putting pieces together and shit. So when you death or when you die, right? Whatever place you're in, you're no longer there. Spirits of the deaf person can, I said of the death or the person that died or unalived can remain in the same dimensional existence, but not in the same dimensional space. So that actually means you can't hear. And they wanted to change it to being here. Nah, you just can't hear that dimension no more. So it goes back to divine saying, I can hear you with intention or your heart. So you were supposed to master that communication while you're here in the physical. So when you pass on, you can have a loud communication with divine. That would be directional, especially if you're trying to find a way to get home, right? So death. But they said death, die. How can I die if my energy is forever? So that's not a reality. But what is a reality, um, pre each existence I live and I travel through, I become deaf after I leave that place because I can no longer hear that dimension. I can no longer hear from that dimension. This is why speaking is one of the biggest things here. This is why people speak so carelessly, so unforgiving, so selflessly, so for granted. People talk, period, for granted. Like speaking itself is something that is just taken for granted. You learn how to speak, you say a lot of things, and then you go on with your next life. But in your next life, you can't hear over here. Even if you're just a spirit, you can't hear. Like nobody has a reference of telling you what a spirit heard. That's never been a conversation, but they use the word die, death, and death. Now, if I'm deaf, and I'm deaf in my left ear, I can't hear nothing out of this side. So the effects that come with this side, I don't get much of those unless it's pressure. I can hear in this side, but if this side is taking in sound, I hear nothing. That speaks to the sound that comes into the ear when the soul is transmuting from body to body. There's a high pitched sound, a very high pitched sound. It's so high you can't hear it with your normal ears. Dogs can hear it. Other animals with acute sound can hear it. That sound is so high pitched. I would beg to differ if some type of calamity took place at one time, noticing the original people transcend through this dimension to a next. That sound was prevalent. They didn't like the fact of that sound, and some got snatched out because everybody couldn't go, and then they said, yo, I'll do whatever it takes to make this not happen. And that sound was right there so loud, whoever was impeding that force of circumstance at the moment lost hearing forever or forever in their existence. And I believe it probably was the first time it ever happened, right? In an astronomical aspect. Because things that are given to you divinely are never to be taken away, especially not by the place where divine created. There's nothing here that would happen to you innately that should hold your natural creative aspect back. It just doesn't go. So they have to manipulate these things on earth and remove certain characteristics from them to make them indifferent to your existence, because everything on the earth has a metabolic reason. It has a metabolic makeup. Individually, these parts could be sicknesses. They could be germs and diseases individually. So this is why we have scientists, to make sure they can confuse and damage the people, because ultimately there's not a such thing as a mishap of divinity. That doesn't happen. What happens is you can get a toy and unravel it. You could take it apart, right? You could take it apart And when it's in pieces, it's not too much a toy no more. It's more or less the thing I need to put together so I can have something to play with, control, whatever that value is, right? So this is really what's going on. Death in its full totality. We believe that things supposed to happen here as far as the negative outcome. Well, that wasn't a regiment. It was accepted. It wasn't a regiment though. It's not something that needed to take place. Like illness is not something that needed to take place. It's something that was created. Yeah, because all right, just to give you the pure example of the understanding, there's not such a germ or disease that can live in high alkalinity. None of it. I don't give a shit what it is. It dies instantly. You put any disease, germ, I don't give a fuck what it is. If you drop it in anything high alkalinic, 12, 10 alkaline purple, the purple number, it's gonna die. They know that. They know that already. So this system in this time is based off what you don't hear and how well I can make it to where you can't hear or see anything. Supreme Rising, you know what I'm saying? How well I can make it to where you can't hear or see anything. So we talk and we talk and we talk because that's the normality. Speaking. But you don't know how important sound is. You don't know how important silence is. The importance are being misused in this value of how you comprehend certain understandings. So you think speaking gives you power when silence is your real power. Silence, it shows that you're not controlled. Speaking means you're controlled or you have no self-control. One or the other. That's what speaking does. You'll speak out of turn because you want to be heard. No self-control. You'll speak because you believe of what you learn is more intelligent than people. That's a good follower. Sometimes people don't say anything. It's because why respond to an idiot? That shows more self-control. If you were patient enough to not respond to an idiot, then you understood the sediments of silence that divine gives you in your heart. That stillness. So that stillness that you would deal with opposed to saying anything. Right? It teaches you the communication, the language of divinity. When you started hearing to that first feeling, then you start learning the language. So now, if I pass on, if I die or go into death, what do I have with me in my spirit? That's intelligence. It's because I was able to comprehend the divine communication when I was alive. So when I died, that went with my soul. So when I was unable to hear the earth anymore, what conversation did I learn the most? The most sincere sediment was sincerity. The conversation of the heart. What divine can hear clearly. That I master while I'm alive. And if I pass on, I can have a conversation with divine. That's direction. Most spirits and energies that sit idle just because they didn't learn how to speak the language of divinity, they chose to stay close to home. Now that they know all truth and everything they could have did or should have did, they chose to be bodiless spirits floating around to influence you here to help you because they didn't do a good job while they were here. And if they did do a good job, then they would have been able to have the conversation of divine and had that direction take them back once you came. A lot of times, the world's propaganda seeps through down into the purest understanding of what everything's supposed to be, and your belief on the next unknown level is based off something that never went there. Of course, you can say the same about me, but what do I have in balance over that? I died when I was a kid, when I was 6 months old. It doesn't really give me no notion of knowing in this time, but what that did do, and I can honestly say, as a youth, I've always been into the unknown ever since I was a little. always been into the unknown, and I would do stuff by myself. I would go into scary places terrified and just go there anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like I would do scary, terrifying shit. Terrified in my soul, like scared as shit, but I'm gonna do it anyway. That was me as a kid. I was a sweet kid, and people was like, yo, he always nice. We can beat him up. And then I knock out the dude that was talking. They be like, leave him alone. I thought he was nice. And then you have friends, and friends will look at you and be like, you weird, yo, because you be like this and you be like that. And I'll be like, yeah, I like having fun, regardless. And then as you get older, you start understanding that, you know, I didn't like the value of people choosing negativity to have happiness. I didn't like the value of people thinking they were more grown than what they were. And I didn't like a bully. Never liked them. I'd rather pay like a week around them just to see them slip up so I can flip on them later. That was fun as a kid. And I didn't know why I was starting to like that more. Like, you know, people would think that you were soft, and then you catch them by themselves, and then you would flip on them when ain't nobody to see. They would be scared. You know what I mean? People I did that growing up too. For real, for real. Like, people would be like, wait a minute, ain't nobody to see us do this. Ain't nobody gonna see me maul your ass right now. That's what's gonna happen. And that's the type of kid I was, because I would sit back and pick and choose my battles, yo. For real, for real. Like, I would see everything that's going on. Hey, you only acting like that because you're around all your friends. Or you only being like that because you're around this, that, and the third. A girl beat me up one time when I was little, right? No bullshit. I never forget this shit. A girl beat me up, right? But I liked her. I ain't gonna say her name, because if anybody from my hometown gonna be like, oh, for real? I never tell. So, some people know this story right here who grew up with me. They know this story for real. My stepbrothers know this story. But this one chick, she had beat me up. And I let her. I laid there on the ground. I was just like, and I was letting her hit me, and she was mad in the face. But the whole time she was beating me up, I was like, you pretty as shit, yo. Like, you is so pretty right now. You don't even know, your anger looks so pretty. And I think I was like 11. It had to be like right after my grandma died or something like that. Like, I know it was crazy, but I remember laying on the ground and she was beating me up. You know what I'm saying? Yo, I'm laughing because I never told nobody this story right here, yo. I never told nobody this story right here. Supreme Riser, yo. It's a lot of comments down here. Okay, what's up? Yeah, whatever. I ain't know. Anyway, Supreme Riser. Everybody. I never told nobody this story right here. But yeah, this girl, and I was a kid, she beat me up. And I liked her. And I laid there and I let her beat me up. I went home after she beat me up, but I still was like, she was cute. Deaf and deaf. You know what I'm saying? And my brothers, they never like, at the time, they didn't let that shit go. They was like, you got beat up by a girl. I was like, I don't care. This is what I'm trying to say. Different values of importance are only important when you make it that way. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes the act of wanting attention comes way before the value of an acceptance. So the fear is turned on whether you know it is or not. How do I know this? Because I've been in situations that was supposed to be detrimental and I really didn't feel anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, just like the girl beating up on me. She sat on me full mount. Like, she sat on me like, you know, you sit on somebody and hit them. She was sitting on me, and I was sitting there just looking at her, and she was doing everything she can. Like, and I was just like, I'm like, she's still pretty. Like 11 years old, 10 years old or some shit. I'll never forget that. Anyway, things like that taught me a lot. I didn't understand what I was learning as a kid, but it taught me a lot. And it showed me different levels of how people like to be coddled in a certain way. And then you start understanding that individuals wanting to be coddled is sometimes the level of acceptance certain families have for their creation or whatever. Like, you'll see somebody do some weak ass shit, and you'll be like, why you acting like that, right? Your mom, like, and that little bit of coddleness turns into, you know, whatever their little immaturity is when they get to an adult. That's how they want to be treated, in that coddle form. And I watched that in a lot of different people. I watched it in different forms. I watched it in different situations, relationships. I watched it with friends. I watched it with people that claimed they was hard, and the hardest person out of the group would coddle the cousins and shit like that because they were really soft. Like, but they would all try to be like the man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I watched these different levels of shit take place, and I'm like, wait a minute. So all y'all pussy then, because you couldn't be like that unless you have that. You couldn't be like, this is how I started seeing shit. So I knew a group of motherfuckers. Yeah, they was dangerously scared. But I also knew if I seen you by yourself, it wouldn't be like that. And a lot of times when we was younger, I would have conversations with friends and I'd be like, yo, people ain't really ready to go as far as one person ready to take it. And majority of the time you want to go as far as somebody's there to save it. That's why people get louder when there's a lot of people around. That's why people used to get loud when there was people around, because it was somebody that was gonna break it up. But if ain't nobody there, you looking for something to grab onto. You looking for something to hold on to. People who have already jumped off the cliff ain't looking for shit to hold on to. You wanna, let's fall. Come on. It's the reality of life. Most of the things that are made into some form of potential or value or law, legalation, or circumstantial situation promoted by people that feel they have an entitled authority. It's fear. You're terrified. Outspoken, like standing up and saying something out of the blue to something that's outside in the light that is also visible to other people. And you're the person that's happened to say something at the time outside in the light around other people and nobody's saying nothing. You're looking for attention. You're not fixing anything. You're not a superhero. You're not a special person. You're not calling out something because you think it needs assistance. You're trying to make. You're trying to get attention. And keep in mind, back in the day, we knew that programs would create like antivirus situations just so you would sign up for their company, and they would put the virus in your program just so you can pay them to fix it. Yeah, this is reality. Like we knew that shit back in the late '90s and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like we been know that. So like that's how it happens now. It's no different. You'll have somebody pointing out things that don't serve them, but it's good for someone else, and it's bad because it doesn't do anything for them. So they have to make a law against it. It's fear. You know, that's the world we live in. We don't live in a true level of equality. We live in selfishness. Oh, they can't have that if I can't be a part, and if it doesn't affect me the way it does for them, it can't be here. The fuck? This whole earth, right? The earth itself. So you hear Hillary Clinton said, we almost this close to cracking that big dome in the sky. Thought long about that shit hard, and I was like, why the fuck she say that? It does seem and sound directional. But then I can't forget the things I saw as a kid. I remember, you know, 13 years old, summertime, looking at the sky, and a giant, bright, giant blue drip. Like it looked like a falling star, but you can't fool my eyes from the difference of a giant welding drip. Yes, we're all not intelligent. I get it. But still, the dynamics of how things take place does not change. I don't give a fuck if it's the size of a football field. It still doesn't change. It's still the same dynamic. This is why people think your intelligence doesn't reach a level of supremacy. So if I see something that looks like welding, but it's the size of an aircraft carrier, do I say that's not welding? Or do I say that's a spaceship? The average crazy mind will probably say, I don't know what that is. It has to be a spaceship. No, I'm going to say that's just a big version of somebody welding. I'm going to look at it for what it is. And literally, that's what I saw plenty of times. And trying to rationalize it, my mind wouldn't let me see it as nothing else. I've seen a green one. I've seen a big blue one. You know what that made me think? Somebody was putting a dome up. That's what it made me think. It made me think somebody was putting a sky up. And why do I say this? Because I also remember when I was a kid, the atmosphere was different. Because I remember the sun being different. I remember it feeling different. I remember rain smelling clean. I remember reality. I remember it. I was there. And I can tell when they started trying to separate the original people from the source. With that big dome in the sky. Cold as hell. Remember that term, cold as hell? Why was that even used? And people was like, no, it's hot as hell. They tell you about the eternal fires that burn you to death. That's torment. That's not the place. Eternal fires that never go out. They would have to be placed in a cold place, right? Just so they can stay hot. Just like the sun. Conductivity. It can't be in a hotter place. It'll set everything on fire. You know, the more heat that's in a place, if you have a main heat source, it takes nothing of that heat to travel after everything is dried out. It's a fact. So you have to have a lot of cold around and moisture for conductivity and to keep the temperatures sound regardless of the fact. So despite what we know about any containment force of science or understanding, the hottest things in existence can't be placed in hot areas. It just won't happen. The area itself will catch on fire. Have you ever seen air catch on fire? It can happen. It's a gas. So what I'm saying is I need y'all to do some more research and comprehend life a little bit more and stop making stupid assumptions, because most of this shit don't be true. And what y'all allow to be authority are idiots. I'm serious. You allow this shit. Y'all be voting for individual things you think is going to get you somewhere where collectively they have a bigger plan behind you. If I can give you a carrot to make you happy now, my other plan that I'm doing that you're not going to see is going football kick you right over the field goal. And you're going to just be mad. They're wrong. Why they did me like this? Because you a damn follower and you don't never do shit yourself. You don't work moral. You don't live moral. You wait for the election time to say, well, we're going to make a move and this is going to get us in position. No, the fuck it's not. How you going to go and live in a place where sectional positions are placed? Where there's a collective amount of people. Rationality and intelligence does not exist within people in a whole. A knowledge of selfish containment does. To find out how to manipulate you on selfish containment is the key. That's how people think, and they call it intelligence. They consolidate, they manipulate, and they take. That's what they do. Consolidate, put it together, manipulate the owners of it, and take it. That's not intelligence. And y'all keep walking around here talking about justice. The fuck are you talking about? If you dumb smart people do not get intelligent one day, it's going to be your fault, because in all actuality, you just in the fucking way. Y'all not doing nothing but talking, squawking like a bunch of animals, birds that's feeding off damn seeds. You're squawking. You're not doing nothing because you don't have the wherewithal to do shit. You ain't powerful because you talk too fucking much. Ain't nothing in there. That's why the best y'all get is a sweat over a microphone. Ain't shit in there. And most of y'all terrified on some face-to-face shit because you sit in the house all day going back and forth between your walls, mad about this or mad about that, talking about who got laws and who ain't got laws, who's special, who not special, and all that energy is literally bouncing off your own wall. You know that's going to make you schizophrenic. It's going to make you a sociopath. Everything you look at, and when they start leaning towards every value, you're going to speak outward about it, because in your home, you feel that way behind your own clothes. That's integrity. So you're building a false integrity. This is how the country get effed up the way it is all the time. A bunch of scared people who stay behind the walls, get drunk, drinking spirits, and then come out in the world and think that what they've been thinking all the time of intoxication and fear, that they're going to speak it to people and lead the world. No, they go in there with this mentality, drink themselves to a numb, then stand up and say, I maintain this reality. That's what they do. That's who your people are. That's the people who run the world. That's what they do. They go behind the walls, and then that's why when you see them on, magazines and shit, they be like fat walking on the beach, pale as shit, or Ain't got nothing really going on. They're like, hey, that's because they've been sitting inside four walls scared to fucking death, hoping that everything that they build around them protects them. You don't have, listen, you don't have that much protection around you, right? And can continuously unless you fucking scared, yo. Period. It's not a such thing as an intelligent system of things that serve. That shit don't exist on this earth. The only thing that exists on this earth is a bunch of people who accumulated power by talking. Ain't now none of them got the hands for real. Ain't now none of them got the mentality for real. If you take everything from these individual people and put them in the middle of a group of anybody, any place in this world, they all get washed away. They'll get washed, and they'll get washed with the system. Their face, their voice, their ideology will die instantly because the pressure will be too much. That's why they have to manipulate to get to the top. You know what I'm saying? So even the people who closest to the individuals at the top be terrified too because they say you are what you stay around. You are what you stay around. So ultimately, y'all, the world, the people, y'all allowed it to happen. Y'all allowed them to build a false wall of retrospect so they could keep false retrospects of control. You heard it? You heard me say that, right? Rewind it back if you need to hear it again. I'm just telling you some real shit. At the end of the day, it will be what it will be. And the age of doing like this, that shit done. That shit done. You can't keep blaming people for things that you allow, yo. Nah, this is a world where we're supposed to be learning to see how much we can take anyway. That's the point. You see what you can take and then you move around. If you can't deal with it, you move around. No matter how this thing go, if a person's playing other roles lesser than that value, then you know the grade you in. Think about what I'm saying. If people play other games with you, then you know what grade they in. You like, oh, they third graders. Yeah, facts. Anyway, just telling you some real shit. See you later. Don't fall. It's a fact. It's a fact. So, look, man. You know what I'm saying? Like that be the craziest part. Majority of the time the outburst of negativity comes from a place of integrity and people keep using the words in false retrospect. Integrity doesn't have a good connotation to it. It doesn't have a bad connotation to it. Integrity is just a word. It's whatever you do behind closed doors is what's gonna be your main character in public. That could be good or bad. It doesn't have a direct definition. But for people who are intelligent that know that and know you don't know the base of that word, they'll tell you, yeah, it sure didn't tell you. You have integrity. I be laughing when I be hearing shit. I be like, why they do that, yo? Why they did that? Like they slick as shit. That's what I see. When I see shit like that, I say a motherfucker slick. I say that they are super manipulative. I say, yeah, you didn't see that shit coming. I look at life that way. I don't read books to get knowledge. I read books to see what motherfuckers think they know. That's I'm serious, yo. Like, I don't listen to people to hear truth. I listen to people to see what you think you know. I don't know everything, but I know divine is almighty, and I know weighing everything by divine is the way it's supposed to be. Period. So if it don't have that potential in it, you're incapable of having that potential. If you haven't at this point at least taken to it to comprehend it in some form, you will never comprehend it. It ain't even been through your DNA. And some people are innately, they know what I'm talking about. They just not gonna say nothing around your ass because they like, yo, he's saying exactly what I know, but I don't, because they different. Like, you be the one sitting there letting them be, and then you'll be like, I don't know how to get them because I've been around them my whole life. Get your ass up and be like, nah, I'm good. Scared, ain't it? Because you know them your whole life. You ain't gonna say nothing. You be like, I ain't gonna say nothing because, oh my God, yo, this shit is tickling to me. It's real funny because it's not like nothing you attach is really gonna go away. They're just gonna understand that you chose to be you for once. That's the reality. And you're you. just might be something the world ain't ready for. What is it? The Joker and shit on the Batman. Wait till they get a load of me. It could be something like that. You know what I mean? So that's all I'm saying, man. Like, and every last one of y'all be dope as shit. It's just be at different times. You decided to put that shit up. Something that might have happened to you when you was young and you chucked out your innocence. Something might have happened, a little older and you chucked your innocence. It might have waited till you became a man to break you to chuck your innocence. I don't know when it happened to whoever it happened to. But just know wherever it happened, you need to really focus on why and what happened when it happened so you can go back and salvage what was given to you because they stole your toy. They took your first gift ever. They took your icy. They took your lollipop when you was a baby. You couldn't do shit and nobody helped you. I get it. But they can't steal what's not theirs. Your innocence is yours. It was the first gift divine ever gave to you. So I don't give a fuck what happened to you. And whoever did whatever they did to you, best believe they're suffering and they will continue to suffer as long as you keep your innocence away from you. Did you know that? All right, check this out. And I should have told y'all this before, but I don't like really giving all of it out because it doesn't give you no room to learn. Like people start leaning on certain shit, and just because I give you a piece of knowledge, it doesn't make it to where it's a comfortability that's going to give you the outcome of changing something. It doesn't. This is just the patterns. So, say something young, when you're young, something bad happens to you. The person that does something bad to you, they're going to go through something for the rest of their life until they fix what they broke. Now, that's not something that you can see. That's not something you're going to understand or actually get witness of, but it will happen for the entirety. A cardinal curses end up with the crime of forever, no matter what it is. So the outcome of whatever the charge is going to be, the time frame is always forever. Like Cain and Abel. When Cain slew Abel, his crime was to live as a dog for the rest of his life. Man's best friend. Cain, K9. The first time it was ever spoke was in a man's name, not an animal. Okay, so just know that. Syllables and all that shit. So Cain was subject to be suffered as a dog for the rest of his life because he slew his brother. It's the first time a brother ever been murdered, right? So life happens that way. And it doesn't go to the full totality of transformation and stagnation, but the resemblance of the altitude of the time frame will exist within the acceptance of his time, right? So if something happens to you with a child, that child's life was the duration of whatever divine had it in time frame, well, that person is going to suffer that entirety time because you did something to stop this child's existence. If in the middle of that you can fix what you broke, there's a grace given. That's with any situation. I don't care who it is. If that person can come in and win and mend those wounds, but most of the time they be scared because the calamity be super bad. And they never want to go back 30, 40 years, you know what I'm saying, to say what they did to someone. But the detrimental aspect of it is you think you're not getting any justice. And you start to become what happened to you. So then you start to impede on people the same way you went through things. And because you do that, you end up taking the mantle from what made you that way. It becomes a rash, literally. And that person doesn't ever have to be around you. You just literally merge into them. Kind of like the Gollum from Lord of the Rings. Have y'all ever seen the Gollum or Lord of the Rings before? And remember, Gollum used to be a hobbit. He was a good person. Him and his friend was on his birthday, and he was going fishing, but he seen the ring at the bottom of the water. So he wanted the ring. He swam down there where his friend got the ring first, and he seen the ring. He's like, it's my birthday. I want it for my birthday. And he was like, no, but I found it. So they ended up fighting for it. So he killed his friend, bashed him in the head with a rock, and killed his friend over the ring. And then he was so distraught, and the power of the ring culminated. So that's the adversary and his crime that he did against life came together and changed him into what we call a golem. So his hair fell out, he got all skinny, he started eating raw meat, teeth got nasty. He just started looking all opposing, you know what I'm saying? And he became the nasty energy that he did to solidify the ring. And that's literally what happens in real life. The negativity that you procure instead of healing from is what you become. So then the liberation to your offender gets liberated because you have accepted the mantle of the same thing that has happened to you. That's why it's a fight to maintain your innocence, the gift that divine gave you, you are to fight, to maintain it and hold it. Because that is the gift that's given to you by the Almighty. So whenever you trade that over and you give that up in life, that was your motherfucking fault. That's why when you gain patience, you're supposed to swallow it, download it, so when it hits the soul, you can emit it like a shining sun. It comes off you infinitely. Nobody, most people, I can't say nobody, but in my experience, I've never met no one like that besides myself. People will say wrong shit to me on purpose just for me to be like, okay, it's fine. That's what they want me to do. I don't do that no more. I don't say it's fine. In my head, I give it to the Most High. I tell them, you saw that, right? And I let it go. That's what I do. I don't hold or carry no burdens no more. I give it all to the Most High. You deal with the divine. I'm not going to argue with you. Oh, no. I ain't got time to do that. Mm-mm. Not today, not never. And if I could have learned that when I was young, I probably would have been way more, I would have been way more spiritual. Like, I probably, because the things I can do with my mind, if I had this focus when I was 5, all right, yo, and I ain't gonna even say no more. Like, if I had this focus when I was 5, it'll be a whole nother life, period. Because the way I think, I can let waves out, and I know that. So, if I had this type of comprehension then, or understood what was in me then, I think the entire planet would have been different. For real, for real. I ran into so many people. I remember when I met the president when I was in school, like, and I was just standing there looking at him like this, like. And I'm gonna tell you, I ain't gonna say the president's name, but I'm gonna tell you what I saw when I saw him. I saw it nasty. It was just disgusting. Like he was, and it was like he was afraid to look me in my eyes or something. You know what I'm saying? Like he looked past me or whatever. And I think when he looked at me, he saw truth, but he didn't want to look at me. You know what I'm saying? And I seen that a lot in people growing up. Like they would look at me and they'd be like whatever was in them, I saw it, and it saw me and it wanted to turn away from me like that. And that's how I know. I was a kid seeing shit like that. When I seen that on one of the presidents, I ain't gonna say his name, but you know what's funny? It's crazy. After I saw him, that problem he had came out in the news and all that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I was like, that's crazy, yo. Like, it's just weird, yo. Every time I get close to people, or no matter what it is, I can see them. Even when I was a kid, I could tell who was an original person and who was a mixed person. Even if they didn't know they was mixed, or if they was mixed like a long time ago, I could still see it. And I didn't even know I didn't even know what those things were. But as a kid, in my mind, I could be like 4. I would be like, that's mixed. I would look at a person and be like, they got 2 people in them, or they got three colors in them. Like, I don't know why I knew that as a kid. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't even like I had to try. I would just see them and I would feel something natural that would click inside of me and it would say that. So why am I saying all these things? It's because what's in you naturally, divine put it in you for a specific. You're not supposed to, the image of it doesn't mean become what somebody else is doing. The image of it means to acclimate to divine in a loving way. You're supposed to see how a person gets in the car opposed to seeing how they drove it first. If you don't know how to open the car door, how are you going to get in it to crank it up? So there's steps to learning something. I got to see you grab the handle first, or stick the key in, unlock the door, open the door. You got to show me how to sit in the car first and get adjusted to the wheel and the pedals, put my seatbelt on, show me where to stick the key in so I can crank the car up, and then we can start learning how to drive. That's the same way with divine. You got to learn how to walk in there first. And you think that's a small task? So they don't tell nobody that, and they don't try to teach those things. So since they don't teach you, you just walk around thinking that you're entitled to certain shit, and it don't work like that. If it was anything the highest respect should have ever been given to, it wouldn't have been a story created by man. It wouldn't have been a worker of the divine. Period. It would have been the divine itself. And that's the hardest thing that we have a issue with giving love to, is what created all things. I can repeat this shit a million times in a day, and then I'm gonna go down my timeline or go in the store or somewhere, and everybody's gonna be calling out a creation of what divine created. And they're gonna make you feel like, you know what, if you don't represent this, then you're not doing it right. Well, shit. His mama had to change his pampers. Daddy had to drive him to school. It'll be all right. I'll go talk to the parents. It'll be all right. I'll go talk to the source. It'll be all right. Because y'all manipulating every damn thing. And keep it 100, I don't have to be blind here. You don't have to be blind here. That's a choice, too. But because it's a double standard world, everybody thinks they have to live double standard, and that's not true. So, yeah, whatever. It is what it is. I ain't going to hold you. 40 minutes on the clock. This is not step in if you want a one-on-one consultation. You know what I'm saying? Reach out. You can email me, drop a comment in the section, or whatever. Find me on any other social media platforms. Just type in NAGA The Wise. It'll pop up. You know what I'm saying? You'll see my beard and my face, dreads, whatever. So, holla. Enjoy your day. If ain't nobody tell you, NAGA love you. Peace.